Matt Walsh was clearly surprised and embarrassed in a recent debate he had with Ryan Grimm while discussing issues related to Haitian American relations, but I'm not here to make fun of Walsh and be petty. What I'm here is to discuss a issue that almost every single human struggles with at some point in their lives. So what is that issue? It's confidently asserting your opinion on a topic that you neither specialize in nor have thoroughly validated and counter-validated. Before I discuss this, let's take a look at what actually happened to Matt Walsh in this debate so you can see what I'm talking about.
Say that's not entirely why Haiti's in the position that it's in. I mean, at a certain point, as a country, you have to stand on your own 2 feet.
So Matt Walsh is clearly feeling a little caught off guard and uncomfortable by Ryan's statements after he had just finished giving some fairly strong assertions about how America should be interacting with Haiti and their immigrants. Some would say this is an example of the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is when people with limited knowledge of a subject tend to overestimate their abilities. And this also tends to happen when people live in a sheltered cultural bubble, which allows them to express their beliefs without confrontation from competent opponents or information suggesting they could be wrong. See where I'm going with that? So if you know somebody who really dislikes people or information that disagrees with their worldview, please like, subscribe, and share this video with them. So for the rest of this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with my brand new argument that I created. I tried to make it more formal, so grant me a little bit mercy if I'm not perfectly syllogistic. But the argument basically addresses what we have to do in order to overcome extreme ignorance that humans just innately have. And then I'm going to provide a couple of potential solution pathways to resolve that issue. So consider this argument. Premise 1. The average human is extremely ignorant of most subjects they do not specialize in. Premise 2. The average human performs an average amount of research on most topics they do not specialize in. And therefore, conclusion, performing an average amount of research results in extreme ignorance of most topics. Now, notice I use the word extreme, not just a little ignorant. The average human is extremely ignorant of most topics. And since that extreme ignorance is caused by performing an average amount of research on most topics, that would imply that we have to do much more than an average amount of research on those topics to overcome our ignorance of them. A slightly above average amount of research will not overcome extreme ignorance. So what do we do to prevent ourselves from looking like ignorant fools? 2 things. 1. When you know you have likely performed an average amount of research on a topic, try to focus your attitude on listening and sharing information instead of asserting your opinion. And secondly, and maybe most importantly, learn how to validate and counter-validate the facts you come across. Let me explain what I meant by focusing your attitude on listening and sharing information instead of asserting yourself. If you know you have likely done and close to an average amount of research on the topic you're discussing, then you need to accept that you are likely extremely ignorant of that topic, especially if the topic is controversial. If you find yourself thinking, I've done some research on this topic and the person disagreeing with me has obviously done none, chances are you are about to make yourself look extremely ignorant. We should consider it highly unlikely that half the American population is simply completely ignorant of highly controversial topics. You're probably missing out on at least some information, and you need to find out that before you tell someone that they couldn't possibly be right or that they're just an idiot. It's okay for you to have reasonable skepticism. Humans can't help forming conclusions when we're presented with information without any counterpoints. We are naturally focused on practical decision making, not intellectual nuances, and it's important to recognize that weakness. So ask questions and try to find someone who disagrees with you and find information from them. Their opinion might annoy you, and you'll more often than not fail to convince them, but you'll at least come away from the conversation with a better understanding of why they think the way they do and what you can do or what you can say next time to be more convincing. So now for the more important part, how to validate and counter-validate the facts you come across. And what do I mean by that? I mean when you receive new information from someone about a topic, especially if it's controversial, you have to act like your own journalist at this point in our history. We all know that competent journalism is nearly non existent today in the age of misinformation. If you actually want to have the right to confidently assert your opinion, well, you have to put in the effort of an expert. So making sure that you don't end up looking like an ignoramus is basically a four-step process. One, fact check all information, claims, and data yourself. Find the original source of any information you receive and look through it on your own. It probably won't be fun. You might have to click through 10 different links to find it. Number two, then see if that information is accurate. You're going to have to use some creative Google terms to find out whether the information is credible. Then, number three, try and find out if the people on the other side of the debate topic have any counterpoints to that data. Maybe the information you have is only a piece of the puzzle. You can often find relevant information on chat forums related to the topic. Reddit, for example, lots of gun forums out there. Any type of hobby has probably got some sort of forum online if you look hard enough. And try to question those people who disagree with you with genuine curiosity. Number four, uh, fact check the information you receive from the opposition. So now we're going full circle. So we fact checked ourselves and the information we first found, and now we're fact checking the opposition. It can be a really tedious, obnoxious process when you're genuinely trying to find out if you're right or wrong. There's a reason why journalists exist and why we depend on them heavily. But unfortunately, we obviously just can't do that anymore. Now, if you're listening to this right now and thinking, who has time for all of that? Well, you're in good company. Not many people have time for this, but remember my previous argument. If you want to make sure that you're not extremely ignorant of any topic, you have to do a lot more than an average amount of research. If you understand this, but you still just don't have the time, that's okay. Here's the solution. Go back to step one of how to prevent yourself from looking like a fool. Just ask questions and share information. Stop pretending like you are not extremely ignorant. It's okay. We're all in that same boat together for most topics. This is the same reason why I leave most of my ballot empty whenever I vote. I'm not going to vote for someone that I have not thoroughly vetted. I don't have the legal knowledge to vote on most of the props that come up on my ballot. I don't care if a candidate is Republican or Democrat because it doesn't truly tell me if that person is trustworthy or competent. So, in those cases where I can't do the research or don't have the time to, I simply allow other people that are more competent on that topic take the lead. Accepting ignorance doesn't have to be a big deal.